So Derek here with Civic Punks, wrapping up the Canadian Open Data and GovMaker Summit here in Fredericton, and I have a very special guest here to wrap things up with.
I'm Cindy Miles. I have the incredible honor of being the Minister of Social Development and the Minister responsible for the Economic Social Inclusion Corporation.
So a very simple, small job then.
It is, it is. But you know what? I still wake up every day thrilled that I get to do this.
Amazing. And you gave us the closing keynote. You sent us off today. What is the key message you hope people walked away from today with?
It is around open data. It is about finding ways to share. It is about setting up spaces so that we reward innovation and we reward folks that work in government and reward leaders to be able to think outside the box.
Well, I think it was interesting. One of the things you talked about is like data is really important, but we need to pair it with empathy. We need to make it real. We need to make human stories. And I think one of the things that's really interesting for me with this as well is how do we reframe the way we do things? Like one of the challenges we have right now, and not just in New Brunswick, but all over the place, is tightening budgets, right? And so how do we use data and empathy to do more with less? How does that shift the way we do things? That's one of the things I'm taking away from your closing keynote.
Good. That was the intent, so I'm very glad that you got that. Shifting the way we do things. When we pair empathy with data, we open up the opportunity for us to get into other people's stories, for people to share their stories. They have the answers. We just haven't always asked, and we haven't listened, and we haven't listened with empathy to see what do they need to thrive. Who am I to decide what you need to thrive? Who am I to decide that? You get to tell me what you need to thrive. And if we can individualize and listen with empathy, and I know that we can set up those spaces as government to be able to support our citizens in doing what they need to do and be who they need to be.
Well, I think one of the things that's interesting for me that I take away from this as well is so the relationships between the public service and the ministers and the government, I think is an interesting one. And I think so often the public servants, we come with data. We're all excited about our data. And one of the things that this reminded me is that this balance between the data that public servants bring to the table with, as a minister, you're on the front lines, you're talking to people, like empathy is what you need to do. Like that is your job. And I think bringing those two worlds together is really exciting. And so how can we better bring those two worlds that sometimes work at different speeds and at different levels? What does it look to bring them together so we're much more in symbiosis together?
Well, I love that you brought that up. I believe to my core that if we look at not just mandates, but what is our mission? Not what is my mandate, but what is our mission as government to be here to support our citizens? And I think that's when we get to that level playing field and we get to that place of mutual respect. And when we support our civil service and support folks and being able to think outside the box and reward thinking outside the box.